Hi, and welcome to episode 35 of the Noble Character Crafts podcast. My name is Amy, and I am coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live on a farm with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Friday, August 10th, 2018. Thank you so much for joining me. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you enjoy this episode. This is a podcast all about my life as a knitter, a crocheter, a hand dyer of yarn, and a sewist. You can find me online on Instagram and Etsy at Noble Character Crafts. You can find me on Ravelry at Noble Character, and I also have a group for this podcast in Ravelry under Noble Character Crafts Podcast. In that group, you'll be able to find the show notes for this episode as well as previous episodes and several other chatter threads. You can also get in contact with me through my email, which is noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com. The KAL that I was hosting, the Brioche Knit Along, just wrapped up at the end of July, and so I just want to thank everybody who participated in that knit along for joining in, and I did draw a prize from the finished objects thread, so I wanted to go ahead and announce that right away at the beginning here. The winner was post number 20, who is Clendy1, and she knit a beautiful garter squish blanket for her daughter, which is a pattern by Stephen West, and it's absolutely lovely. So congratulations. The prize that you will have won is a skein of my hand-dyed yarn. This is on my Pitter Patter base, which is a fingering weight base, 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. And this is on my Light of Dawn colorway, so it's inspired by the morning sky. And it has all of the different colors that you see in the morning sky. So it's got lots of yellow, of course, a little bit of pink and some blue, and it has speckles of more gold in it as well. And my business, Noble Character Crafts, comes from Proverbs 31, and so each of my colorways are named from a proverb. So this one comes from Proverbs 4 verse 18, which says, "But the path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, which shines brighter and brighter until full day." So all of my skeins of yarn also come with a progress keeper that I make. So there's this cute little progress keeper on here. Also, whenever you order yarn from my shop, you receive the yarn in one of these drawstring bags that I hand stamp with my logo on it. So it will come in there, of course. And I have a few extra goodies for you as well. I have a candle from Aroma Naturals, and it is in the Romance scent. You can't see that very well, but it's aromatherapy essential oil. It has jasmine and yang, I think is how it's pronounced. That's the scent of it, so hopefully you'll like that. And then also I'm including a little mini bar of one of my favorite soap companies, which is Rossignol Farm Soaps. They're based out of Maine, I believe, and this is in their farmhouse linen scent. So I've ordered from them several times, and they have a neat option where you can just order a sampling of, I think, 5 different scents of their soap to try out. And so this is one of their little sample bars. So they are also on Etsy if you'd want to check out their shop. And then I've also had this little pin for a while, and I thought I would give this away as well. It is from TL Yarn Crafts, and it says "Create Daily." So that is the prize pack, all of those goodies, the skein, the pin, the soap, and the candle, all in the drawstring bag. So I hope that you enjoy those. If you can please get in contact with me through Ravelry and let me know your name and address, I will be glad to send that out in the mail to you. Thank you again so much to everybody who participated in the Brioche Knit Along. It was so fun to see all of the beautiful projects that you all made, and I really appreciate all of your participation. I am excited to announce a new knit along that I am going to be co-hosting with the lovely ladies of the Meanwhile at the Castle podcast. Emily and Deborah started a knit along, which is called the Be My Neighbor knit along, and it is for you to participate in honor of Mr. Rogers, who, of course, was known for encouraging neighborliness and kindness. And so this knit along is for you to make any sized cardigan in honor of Mr. Rogers always wearing cardigans, and his mother made him several cardigans as well. So it can be knit or crocheted any size, so from newborn baby up to an adult is perfectly fine. And it is also including any knits that you would like to make as gifts or for charity. So it's a wide array of different things that you can make for this knit along, and it's going to stay open at least until the end of the year. The ladies at the Meanwhile at the Castle podcast are going to be selecting prizes several times throughout the year, and they may even continue it into 2019. They're not quite sure yet. And I am planning on drawing a prize for this knit along once a month. So I would be so happy to have any of you join us for this knit along to encourage kindness and neighborliness, and just in honor of Mr. Rogers, who actually was a huge impact on my childhood. I watched Mr. Rogers growing up quite a bit, so he was always one of my favorites, and I am so excited to join those ladies in this knit along. So all of the works in progress that I had going last time I recorded a podcast, I finished. That's incredible, huh? That doesn't happen very often for me anyway. So the first one I want to show you is my Granny's Geraniums shawl, which is a beautiful pattern by Lily of Nordic Stitches. Isn't it lovely? I posted on Instagram, I said, I think this is the most, it's just the prettiest and most feminine thing I think I've ever made. I just love it so much. And the fact that I was able to make it using little bits and pieces of leftover yarn from other projects is so rewarding. I had all of these different little bits and pieces of yarn that I just matched together. I just pulled the most, the lightest and prettiest colors I had in my stash to put together, and I just am so pleased with how this project turned out. So this pattern starts with this mitered square right here, and then you add on these two lace triangle panels, and then you pick up all along the bottom and work the bottom. I think the original pattern calls for you to only do 14 garter ridges for the border, but I actually did, I think, 25 because I just wanted to make it a little bit bigger. Now, I was surprised that it's so roughly along the bottom here. Actually, when I blocked it out, because I wanted to really get those tips blocked out and stretched out for that lace to open up, which I am so happy with the way that it opened up. But in order to block it, I had to, let's see if I can show you. I had to like wrap this all the way around like this, and then the other side went around the other way, and so it was like overlapped almost into almost a circular shape. It was really cool looking when it was laid out blocking. And anyway, I just love how it makes this ruffly bit. And in looking at Lily's photos on her project page, I don't see that as much on hers, but maybe it's because I made mine bigger that it added more ruffly bits. I'm not really sure, but I'm so pleased with it. I just love it. I especially love wearing it over the shoulders. I'm not keeping this, but this is a gift for a lady that I go to church with, one of our pastor's wives. I'm gifting this to her. Anyway, I just love how it fits over the shoulders so nicely, and it still, kind of has this roughly, I don't know, gathered kind of look to it that I just think is so pretty. And, it can be worn like this really nicely, and it just stays so well because it has that shape that really wraps around itself. So I'm really hopeful that she will enjoy this and appreciate the shawl and get some use out of it. And if nothing else, I just hope that it's an encouragement and a comfort to her, to let her know how much she is appreciated. So I'm excited to gift this to her. I used all of my own hand-dyed yarn except for the very last border, which is a little bit hard to see because it matched the last color that I used really well. So this right here is the last of my yarn. It's my Integrity colorway, and it's on my Twinkle Toes base, so it has gold stellina in it. And then down here for the last, I think, 6 garter ridges, I used a 50-gram skein, although I didn't use all of it, of Maker's Haven yarn that Amber had sent to me for a prize I had won. And I don't know the colorway name. It maybe didn't have a colorway, but it was a 50-gram skein that she had sent to me. And it was also on a stellina base, but silver stellina. And it was just really, really light, and then just had, you can see a few different areas here where it had some peachy colors and a little bit of tan as well. It's kind of hard to see because it's so light and delicately dyed, and I just thought it went so well with all the other colors that I had used, and I needed more. I had run out of my yarn and wanted to add a little bit more body to the shawl, and so that was perfect to use up that skein as well. I didn't, like I said, I didn't use it up completely, but I wonder if I have it handy. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. So here is the rest of the 50-gram mini that Amber had sent to me. It's beautiful. So it was just the perfect addition to this shawl to finish it up. I used the recommended needle size, which was US 7 4.5 millimeter needles for this. And it took me exactly 1 month. I started it, now I can't remember the exact date, but it took me 1 month and 1 day. I started it on like July 3rd and finished it on August 4th or something like that. It was almost exactly 1 month. So anyway, I'm super pleased with that, and I'm hoping to gift it to the lady at church this weekend. And Lily of Nordic Stitches released this pattern in order to raise money for cancer research. So every time someone buys a copy of this pattern, Lily donates $3 to cancer research in honor of her grandmother. So please do go check out this pattern on the Nordic Stitches Designs Ravelry page, and I highly encourage you to check it out. It was such a fun knit, and that it is for a good cause as well. So my next finished object is my Rhinebeck Roomy socks. I just love how they turned out. They're so fun, I think. This is a pattern by Kay Linton, who is Crazy Sock Lady. She has a podcast as well as several designs, Crazy Sock Lady designs. And I absolutely loved making these. I used Knit Picks Felici in the Candy Shop colorway for the main body, and then I used the yarn that I received from Christy of Yarn Cafe Creations along with her square for the 2018 Collaboration Afghan. She had sent this very generous skein of her yarn, and it is in the There's Room for Everyone colorway, and I absolutely love how this worked with the stripes. It was, really an unexpected that would match so well, and I just love how it pulled out the teals and the greens in the stripes, and I really love the contrast of that heel. I did an afterthought heel, which is different from Kay's pattern, and I used the free pattern from the Fork in the Road socks. They have, in that pattern, there is this different heel that I really like for an afterthought heel. I'm still perfecting it. This is the second time that I've made this heel, and the first time that I made it, it was a little bit too big on my foot. So this time I actually had to redo. The first time I did the heel, you're supposed to repeat several stockinette rows before you start the decreases on this heel. But since the last time I made this heel, it was too big for me. I tried to go straight into the decreases, and that was way too little. And I actually was using a different yarn. This is also from Maker's Haven, and I thought that it went well with the stripes, especially this coral stripe. But once I had it worked into the heel, it was kind of clashing just a little bit. So then I switched it to this one from Christy of Yarn Cafe Creations, and I like it so much more. Anyway, nothing to say wrong with the Amber's yarn. Of course, it's gorgeous. It just didn't work with this particular color, these colors as well. Anyway, this time I worked 3/4 of an inch of stockinette stitch before I decreased, and it fits pretty well, but I could use a little bit more room. The original pattern for this heel calls for you to do stockinette stitch to equal the same length that there is from the top of your thumb to your first knuckle of your thumb, which is kind of strange, but I think mine is like 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches, something like that. And like I said last time I made this heel, it was too baggy in the heel yet. So I wanted to do it a little bit less, but I think next time I try this heel, I might go for about 1 inch and see if that's a good fit. These fit well. It's not a problem as far as, you know, I can still definitely wear these and be comfortable in them, but I think for the perfect fit, I want just a little bit more room. Anyway, I just did the rounded toe as Kay calls for in her pattern. Oh, I cast on 64 stitches using a US size 1 2.25 needle, and I got 9 stitches to the inch. I did, I counted how many rows I did for the ribbing, and now I forget. It was like 22, 23. I just went until I ran out of this white, and you know, once the yellow started, then I started the pattern. It's a 4-row repeat, super easy. It's the perfect kind of sock knitting for me that adds a little bit of interest, but it's still very simple. I loved it, making these socks so much, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. So there we have it. And my last finished object is my Sweet Bee socks. I love how they turned out so much. Aren't they cute? This is a beautiful pattern by Jules Hill of So Sweet Violet, who has a wonderful podcast as well. And this is her first design. So this is the first time that I have made toe up socks, and I really enjoyed it. I never thought I would like making toe up socks, but this pattern won me over for sure. So pleased with how these turned out, and the fit is incredible. So it starts here at the toe, of course, and it has this beautiful, these beautiful increases. I just love how it looks. It's so pretty. And then and the pattern is so, you know, it just keeps your attention because there's always something going on as far as the stripes and the bee pattern and everything. I just absolutely love these so much. So you start with the stripes, and then you work into this lacy bee pattern, which is so cute. A few more stripes, and then this heel. I just love it so much. So easy. The fit is the best heel I've ever had on a sock. Oh, I love it so much. And you know, then you just work a few inches of stockinette until you get back to the stripes and the lace and stripes. And the pattern calls for you to do twisted ribbing. I don't prefer twisted ribbing. I don't mind making it. I just, for some reason, it seems not to hold its shape for me as well. I have another pair of socks that I did twisted ribbing, and it seems to stretch out a little bit easier than a regular 1x1 ribbing. So I just did regular 1x1 ribbing for 20 rows. The pattern also calls for only 15 rows, but I wanted a little bit more length in the ribbing. And then I did Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off, which I think works really well on these. So I'm very, very pleased with these. I used my own hand-dyed yarn on my honeycomb colorway for the yellow, and the black is my night colorway. Both of those are on my pitter patter base, 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. I again used US size 1 2.25 needles and got 9 stitches to the inch for the gauge. So, oh, and I worked the medium size, which is also 64 stitches. Very, very happy with these. Yay! So I'm so excited that I was able to get all of those projects finished. I have, you know, just been really focused on getting what I have on the needles, off the needles, so that I can start new projects. So that's what I have done. So I'm going to show you a few of my new works in progress. The first one, actually these are both of these works in progress are very new. I just started this one yesterday, and the next one I'll show you I just cast on this morning. So this is in my beautiful Tanny Casey project bag that I love so much. And this is my contribution for the Be My Neighbor knit along. And I am making a cardigan for myself. I am making the Birdie Fair Isle cardigan, which is a pattern by Hannah Fettig. And I'll insert a picture here so you can see what it looks like. I think it's so pretty with the swallows on around the yoke. And it also has a heart on the very back, which I think is so cute. I had actually started swatching for another project that I was going to make, and I probably will still make it in the future, but I really wanted to make a cardigan for this knit along, and I saw this pattern and I just fell in love with it. But it worked out well because I was using the same yarn, so I could use my swatches that I had already done to figure out the gauge for this one. So this calls for a gauge of 20 stitches to 4 inches, and I'm getting 20.5 stitches to 4 inches, which is close enough, using US size 8 5mm needles for the main body. Though I started the ribbing with US size 7 4.5, is that right? Yes, and then I am doing the color work with a US 9, which is 5.5mm. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, this is working up so quickly. I'm using, this is worsted weight. I have a ton of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes yarn in my stash that I stocked up on, well, a few different times I've stocked up on some of this yarn for different projects that I was going to make and then never made. Anyway, so I really want to use up a lot of this Knit Picks Wool of the Andes yarn, and it's a good choice for color work because it's a really, you know, woolly wool. It's 100% Peruvian Highland wool. So for the main, well, let me show you what I've gotten done so far. The progress on this is just working up so quickly. I just cast this on yesterday, so okay, I have to explain all these balls. I've got all these little balls attached. Can you see this? It looks ridiculous. But on the project page, there were several people that recommended that the swallows would be worked up better in using intarsia instead of stranded. So intarsia is when you have, I think this is the first time I've done intarsia, but my understanding is that you just have a ball for each little bird, basically, and the heart will have its own too, though I haven't gotten to the part of the heart yet. Anyway, and then, this will just have its own little ball, and there won't be strands that are run in between each swallow. Does that make sense? So it's a little bit tricky to do yarn management, and so I have all of these. The pattern calls for you to put in stitch markers to mark every time that, you do a swallow pattern. And I just use these light bulb, which are like safety pins basically. And so then I am able to use those safety pins to wind the ball up and clip it to that little section. So that seems to be working, but it's a little bit time consuming when I get to that section where I need to use that ball. I have to unpin it, unwind it, and then when I'm done, I roll it back up and pin it back in just so that I don't have a yarn tangling mess. But hopefully, there's only 16 rows of the swallow pattern. So it's short-lived that I have to do all of this finagling with all of these little balls of yarn. The pattern also calls for this to be worked flat, which would mean you would have to work the color work on the wrong side, purling, and I wasn't going to do that. So I have taken the bold step of putting in a steeked section. So I have added 5 extra stitches right here to the front of the cardigan, and when I am done, I will cut right up this line to separate it into a cardigan. I can't believe I'm being so brave. I hope that the fit is okay. I kind of wish that I would have used maybe a size 6 instead of a size 7 needle to do this ribbing, because it seems a little bit loose. But I guess, if worst case scenario, I think maybe it would be possible to unpick this maybe and then go back in and add on a ribbing that's tighter, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully it'll be okay. I really love how this is working up though. I love the scalloped, well, that's the steek area. I love the scalloped pattern here with the gold. Oh, I just think it's so pretty. Okay, so the 4 different colors I'm using are, the main color is Mink Heather. Then the gold is Wheat. The light blue is called Wonderland Heather. And the dark gray it's almost kind of got a blue hint to it too, and that's what the swallows are going to be made in, as well as the heart, and that's the Onyx Heather colorway. So I'm very excited about this project, and yeah, hopefully it will be a success in the end. I'm definitely taking some brave steps with a few different things, you know, doing Antishah for the first time, and this will be the first time I have steeked a garment. I've only done one other project where I steeked, and it was just a tiny little purse, so it wasn't as scary. This is going to be a little bit, well, quite a bit more scary, but from watching other tutorials on steeking garments and seeing other people that have, other podcasters that have steeked garments, it's really doesn't seem to be as scary as it initially seems. So hopefully this will be a success as well. Okay, the next work in progress that I just started this morning is in my beautiful bag that Mary Ann of Rock Islander made for me when we did a swap. And I love it so much. And in here is a little shrug that I am making for my daughter. It is the Antishah shrug in the fingering weight. She, I think, has another pattern for this same design in a worsted weight maybe. This pattern is by Lisa Chemery. And I have this healing colorway, which is my own hand-dyed yarn. And this, I had a few extra skeins of this left over from a shawl that I made for a lady at church, and then also a pair of socks that I made for my daughter. And this color is something that I would never wear personally, so I really wanted to use this up, and my daughter loves pink, and so it's just perfect that I would be able to make this for her. She actually doesn't know about it. I haven't said anything because if I do say something, she's not gonna leave me alone about it until it's done. But maybe she knows now. Maybe she heard me. We'll see if she says anything or not. Anyway, if I run out of yarn, because I think this doesn't quite equal 100 grams. I think it's about 80, somewhere around 80 grams. And the pattern says I'm going to need 375 yards, which means I should have probably enough with this, because my Pitter Patter base has 463 yards, I think, for 100 grams. But anyway, if I do happen to run out of this color, then I'm going to add in this colorway for the bottom, which is my Joyful Heart colorway. And yeah, so like I said, I just cast this on this morning, so I only have, I mean, I didn't even work on it very long, obviously, because I've only just cast it on and worked a few rows. But anyway, it has started. It took me a while to get gauge. I always take a while to get gauge on any project, it seems. Anyway, it took me a while to get gauge on this one as well. I had to take make four different swatches, and finally I got close enough, again, still not right on, but close enough with a US 5 3.75 millimeter needle, and the gauge is calling for 26 stitches to 4 inches, and I got 26.5. So again, close enough. I'm making the largest size. This pattern starts at 3 months and goes up to 8 years, and my daughter's going to be 8 in January, so I am making the 8-year size, but maybe it'll be even a little bit roomier since my gauge is half of a stitch larger than what is called for, so that's perfectly fine. She can hopefully wear it for several years to come. I wanted to mention also that this healing colorway I had originally dyed in collaboration with Kay Litton of the Crazy Sock Lady for raising money for breast cancer research, and 50% of the proceeds from both this yarn as well as the pattern that Kay made. She made a sock pattern called Katie's Socks. 50% of the proceeds that she makes on that pattern sales also goes to breast cancer research, and 50% of the sales from my the sales of this colorway also go to breast cancer research. And I just wanted to give an update that I have been able to raise $300 for breast cancer research from the sale of this colorway. So thank you so much to anybody who has purchased that yarn, and it is still available in my shop if any of you are interested in this colorway and supporting breast cancer research. The last work in progress that I want to share with you is one of my scrappy Afghans that I'm making. So this is a long-term project, but I haven't shown it in quite a while. So I thought I would show it today. This is my Excavation Afghan, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. I forget the name of the designer, but I'll put it down below. It's a super simple design where you just start at this end, leaving a tail, and then you work back and forth, doing an increase at the beginning of each row to make this shape, and then you leave another tail at the end so you don't have any ends to weave in. And I absolutely love the way that it's working up. I think it's so fun. So this little progress keeper right here is marking where I was the last time that I showed it on the podcast. So I've been able to get a few inches of work put into it. And this is special because this has yarn from every single project I have ever made using fingering weight yarn. So the first time I ever used fingering weight yarn was shortly after I learned how to knit. I did a test knit actually for one of my friends on Instagram, and I made a little baby bonnet using this undyed yarn. And so every time I have finished a fingering weight project since then, I have added on that colorway if I have anything left over anyway. So there's been a few projects that have used several different colors, and so I just try to add each color if I can into this project. And yeah, so you can see here I have my Sweet Bee Socks colorways. Here's my Rhinebeck Roomies colorways, and these are the colorways that I used in the Granny's Geranium shawl. So those are the last few rows I've just added from the last projects that I finished. So anyway, I really love this project. It's so much fun and mindless to work up, and I really like being able to look through and remember the different projects that I have made with these different yarns. And it's obviously going to be a very slow growing project, but it's really fun. So I am using US size 2 needles, 2.75 millimeter for this project. Okay, a few sewing projects that I have been working on since I last podcasted are some more project bags. So I had my first project bag update in my Etsy shop after I podcasted last time, and that was a great success. So I just want to say a huge thank you to any of you who purchased one of my project bags. I appreciate it so much, and I really am enjoying making them, and I have made a few more, so I wanted just to share those with you. The first one is in these blue and tan colors. So they all have these are all the same size. They all have a boxed bottom, and I add some quilting to the top section here. They're all drawstring and have a handle, and this one is lined with this blue color, and then it has a contrast pocket. They all have a pocket on the inside. So here's the first one. And then I really like this one a lot. It's got a very woodland fall theme, kind of. These little foxes and bears and little hedgehogs here. And mushrooms. And then this print has some words: sly, friendly squirrel, quick, cunning. It's just kind of fun. And then on all of my project bags, the material at the bottom here is a little bit thicker. It's, I think, called duck cloth. So it adds a little bit more, weight to the bottom, I guess, or structure. They're all lined, interfaced. And this one has this gray chevron lining with also a pocket. And drawstring, they're all alike in that way. And they all have my label on here, which is fun because if you fold it over, then the label is still shown on when it's even folded over, which I think is fun. Let's see, the next one I made is this monochrome black and tan. I really like how this one turned out as well. When I was making it, I thought, oh, this one's going to be kind of boring, but it's not boring. I really like it. And this one has just the tan lining, and then I did a contrast pocket. And then I have this one that has kind of an apple theme. Has this bottom that has this pears and apples on it. And then I just pulled the colors from that for the top part. So it has kind of a fall feel to it, I thought. On the inside is this tan color that has these leaves printed on it. And there is the pocket. And the last one that I made since I podcasted last is this one here. So it has the teal and coral and gray colors. And it also has this gray chevron material on the inside. So I will put these in my shop. Oh, and I also still have one bag left from the last time I had an update. So I still do have this one as well with this Aztec material on the bottom. So, and it has polka dots on the inside and a contrast pocket with two different sections in it. Anyway, so that one is also still available as well. And all of these bags will be in my shop on Monday morning. So that will be August 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. On Monday, August 13th at 10 a.m. I will put those in my Etsy shop. If any of you are interested, I would really appreciate you checking out my Etsy shop at that time. That would be great. As I mentioned last time I recorded a podcast, I did go home for a family reunion last weekend, and I had my mom help me to look at the dress that I have been making that I've shown a few weeks ago that I had been having some problems with, and Mom was able to help me kind of figure out, well, she told me what I needed to do and I haven't sat down to try to tackle that yet, but I have a little more confidence in trying to get it done. We didn't have time. I was hoping that we might have time to work on it together, but we ran out of time. And so anyway, I will hopefully gain the confidence to try to tackle that soon, but I'm not really sure. I've mentioned before that sewing is pretty new to me, and so it's not something that it's fun, but it's not super relaxing for me yet. So if I just want to relax, I go towards knitting. So I kind of need to be in the right mindset to sew, especially a garment. So anyway, I haven't worked on that yet, but I'm hoping to soon. Anyway, I do have a very exciting thing to share with you. I have received the last square that I needed for the 2018 Collaboration Afghan. So this is an Afghan that I am collaborating with 48 other indie yarn dyers. I have asked each of them to knit or crochet a 7-inch square and send them to me in one of their colorways, and I am going to be piecing all of these squares together to form a beautiful Afghan that will then be sent off to Lisa, who heads up Indie Untangled, and that will be on display at the Indie Untangled Trunk Show in October, and attendees of the Trunk Show will also have the opportunity to win the Afghan there. So that's super exciting, and I received the last square in the mail from Kiana of Stitch Together Studio. This beautiful colorway is her Kiss the Concrete colorway. I love that, it's so pretty. here is her cute little business card, Stitched Together Studio. She's actually based out of my hometown, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, so that is where I grew up. So that's kind of exciting. Actually, we do have kind of a connection. Her grandmother-in-law and my mom play Scrabble together every week. They're super good friends, and so we kind of have a neat connection there. So anyway, thank you so much, Kiana, for sending this. I'm so excited to have you be a part of this collaboration, and I'm super excited to start working these, or stitching these squares up together. I've got to lay them all out and arrange them in perfect order, you know, so that the colors are evenly dispersed, or I don't know, I'll have to a good time playing around with all of the different designs and colors and figuring out what layout I like the best. And then I've got to come up with some kind of a border to put around the outside. So I've got to get to work on that because it may take me a while to get it all done. So I'm excited to get started on that as well. The last thing I have to share with you is my shawl kit for this week. Every time I podcast, I try to show a set of 3 skeins from my Etsy shop that I think would work well together. And I'm super excited to share a new colorway with you this week. Here's the set of 3. Oh, I think they're so pretty together. I'm really excited about these. So you have seen this colorway many times if you have watched before. This is my Deep Waters colorway, and it just works so well with so many different combinations that it ends up in a lot of my shawl combos and projects of my own as well. So it's just a deep navy blue tonal. And you've also seen this colorway, but not for a while. I haven't shown it in a while. This is my Cold Water colorway. So it's just a real light blue, grayish blue tonal as well. And this is my new colorway that I'm so excited about. This is called Swallow, which was dyed up, inspired by barn swallows. And so these are the colors that are in the barn swallows that we have in our barn anyway. And I just love how this turned out. I absolutely love this color right here that they have on their chest, I believe, yeah. So I really love the different colors in this, and I'm so excited to have this new colorway. So it has some bright blues, some navy blue, some brown, light brown, and brown speckles as well, which brown speckles are so beautiful because they break into all these different colors that I absolutely love. So yeah, I'm super excited about this new colorway, and I thought that these 3 looked great together. Okay, so since I recorded last, I had mentioned that I was going to be gathering up some of my things that I have made throughout the year to take to our county fair, and I ended up taking 13 different items that fit in, and just took as many as I could find that would fit into the different categories that they have. And I was able to get a lot of prizes. So the way that they do it is that it's basically like a grading system. So the idea, I think, from what I understand, if you do a good enough quality job, then you get a first place award. So I think I saw 3 different pairs of socks from 3 different knitters, and each of us got first place, because I think the idea is that we each met the first place standards. It's kind of like grading, like we each got an A on our project, basically. So I was able to get 11 first place and 2 second place prizes. So I was very happy with that. And I was especially honored to have one of my projects get a special award. So the little baby sweater that I had made for my friend won the best crocheted or knitted sweater for the entire fair, for all of the entries that were entered. And so I was very excited about that. And I also was able to gift both the baby sweater to my friend and the baby Afghan that I shared with you last time to my cousin while I was home last weekend. And both of those moms were very excited and appreciative of those gifts. So that was very, very fun to be able to give those to them. we had a great time at our family reunion, and the kids just had a really great time at my parents' house. They have a acreage where the kids can run around, and they have a creek that we have a creek on our yard too, or on our land as well, but the banks on our creek are very steep, so it's hard to get down to the water. But at my parents' place, the banks are pretty shallow, and the creek is quite a bit wider, and it's also still a very shallow creek, but it's very wide. And so anyway, our boys were down there, and they were in the water and catching little minnows and things like that. So they had a great time, and they were riding bikes and wagons down my parents' hill. Anyway, they were just having a ball. They had a great time. So it was so much fun to be able to go home and see lots of family members that I hadn't seen in a while. And yeah, we had a great time. I am also really excited this weekend. My husband and I are going to be attending a marriage conference that our church is hosting. And so that is tonight and tomorrow morning. So I'm really excited to do that. We haven't done a marriage conference since before we had children. So I am really looking forward to that time. I'm sure that will be a really great conference. So I'm looking forward to that. So I think that's all that I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this podcast, please do give me a thumbs up. I would appreciate that as well. And subscribe to this channel if you would like. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you all have a great week ahead. Bye-bye.